الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
When you hear music such as this, what typically comes to mind? What if you were told that it's a traditional call to prayer in the Islamic faith? It carries the same purpose as this music.
There's no doorway.
Okay, the first question I'm going to ask you is, when you hear the word Muslim, what do you generally think of?
Sadly, I think of the Twin Towers.
Okay, just because of the correlation of terrorism? Okay. Let's see. Okay, the second question I'm going to ask you is, if you see someone in an airport, train, or bus terminal with a turban, what sort of emotions come to mind?
I feel bad for them because they're definitely going to be stereotyped and profiled, and I definitely think that they'd have a harder time going through security than people that don't tend to look like Muslim.
Okay, that's acceptable. Okay. What would you say if I told you that there are about 7 million Muslims in America?
I believe it.
Okay. What if I told you that in the Islamic faith, the turban is worn by scholars and religious leaders as a sign of authority and wisdom?
I thought they all wore it.
Okay.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the underlying issue here, let's look at some information about Islam that most people don't know. Islam has been around since 632 AD, a lot longer than most modern Judeo-Christian denominations. It follows the Quran, which is based off the teachings of the last known living prophet, Muhammad. Allah, or the Arabic word for God, is actually the same God as the Judeo-Christian religions. They just call him a different name and believe in the teachings of Muhammad rather than Jesus Christ. In fact, the similarities between Islam and Christianity are staggering, and the difference between the Bible and the Quran are simply that they were written by different people in different time periods, but generally follow the same guidelines. Here's what a lot of people don't understand though. Islam is actually a very peaceful religion. God does not forbid you to be kind and equitable to those who have neither fought against your faith nor driven you out of your homes. In fact, God loves the equitable. Chapter 60, verse 8. Whoever recommends and helps a good cause becomes a partner therein, and whoever recommends and helps an evil cause shares in its burden. Chapter 4, verse 85. And what will explain to you what the steep path is? It is the freeing of a slave from bondage, or the giving of food in a day of famine to an orphan relative, or to a needy in distress. Then will he be of those who believe, and join fortitude and encourage kindness and compassion. Chapter 90, verses 12 through 17. Show forgiveness, speak for justice, and avoid the ignorant. Chapter 7, verse 199. These are all quotes from the Quran. Nothing about blowing up buildings or bombing infidels in Allah's name. A lot of Americans tend to correlate Islam with terrorism, mainly out of ignorance, but also because the largest attack on American soil was believed to be carried out by a small extremist group that claims to be Islamic-based. The Ku Klux Klan claims to be a Christian group, but nowhere in the Bible does it say it's okay to blow up an African-American church, or terrorize people by burning crosses in their yard, and it certainly says nothing about hating Jews simply because they're not of the same religious beliefs as Christians. No one seems to specially screen white people at airports. After all, the KKK is a terrorist group, and it consists of only white people. The reason why people are so scared of Muslims is simply because people fear what they do not know. Why don't we know much about Muslims? After all, they do make up about 20% of mankind. One theory is that today's media is flooded with biased stereotypes about Muslims, and the entire Arab population for that matter. The common image of an Arab in America is an olive-skinned man with a turban, long scraggly beard, and a dot in the middle of his forehead, shrieking at the top of his lungs. Another theory is that after 9/11, the media portrayed the common enemy for us to turn against as the Islamic followers, because Al-Qaeda is supposedly Muslim. I think this particular theory hits home for all Americans, because regardless of the cause, the terrorist attacks on September 11th were tragic, and changed the mentality and the general peace and well-being of America forever. Even if the terrorist attacks endured by Americans were caused by Muslims, I think the initial shock of 9/11 is over, and it's time for positive change. I think it's time we pull together as Americans rather than different religious pawns. I think it's time we realize that what happened on 9/11 was caused by a small extremist group, and it's time to stop discriminating against a very peaceful, innocent group. If we could stop the ignorance, stop the needless hate, we can bring America back together to focus on looking ahead to a brighter future. We could bring our country back to what the Founding Fathers intended for all of us, religious tolerance and freedom. If we could cross this obstacle, think about what we could accomplish next. Maybe we can support in Iraq and Afghanistan with religious tolerance like our own. Maybe right here at home we can raise an entire generation that doesn't know hate or intolerance for Muslims, or any religion, race, or creed for that matter. What if?
Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud men who died.